My own view is that he's an outstanding officer. He has done, by all accounts, a very effective job in bringing us through this difficult phase of the Afghan war. And assuming that this is cleared up, I would hope very much that his appointment would be able to go forward. There's a tendency by the press, obviously, to focus on all of the aspects of this affair, but we have so many important issues ahead of us in American foreign policy, from the war to Iran to North Korea to the global economic crisis to the Eurodebt crisis to the Arab revolutions to securing our embassies. Those, to me, are the real issues, and they tend to get lost as people hurl accusations. It's still a very partisan time in our country, unfortunately.
Only in answer to one question lately, he was asked at the start, did that have any impact on his testimony? He said no. Yeah, there's a certain amount of awkwardness here, sure. I mean, obviously, because all of us in the room, certainly myself and all of us, have a great regard for him. We've known him. I've known him for 9 years now. So it's. I actually urged him to run for president a few years ago. So I've been to dinner with him. I consider him. I know him fairly well.
Was there any discussion?
So anyway, yeah, it was tough. Anytime you see human tragedy for a good person, it's tough to go through. Sure.
That is the voice of Representative Peter King of New York. And the head of the House Intelligence Committee suggested on Sunday that President Barack Obama might have known about former CIA Director David Petraeus' extramarital affair before the November election. He noted the FBI investigation of the communications between Petraeus and his biographer Paula Broadwell arose due to a concern over a counterintelligence threat. 8:11 now on the John Fredericks Show. Steve Ray sitting in for John all this week as we head towards Thanksgiving. And my friend, psychologist and author Dr. Dorree Lynn, an expert you've seen on Retirement Living TV and heard on NPR. Her website, 50andfurthermore.com, as well as drdorreelynn.com, is the place to go. And we welcome Dr. Dorree live this morning from Florida. Good morning, Dr. Dorree. How are you?
Good morning. It's wonderful to be back with you, Steve.
It's been a long time, and you are the person we need to talk about this. And again, I'm going to warn parents, if you're driving your kids to school, we're not going to say anything really salacious here. But we are going to talk very frankly about affairs by powerful people. And Dorree, Dr. Dorree, pardon me, I don't want to get too familiar because we are old friends, but there is some decorum when you have a title.
Yeah, nowadays, you have to be careful about what that sounds like.
Exactly. Now, with affairs by powerful men, is it opportunity, ego, convenience, or the magnetism of power that draws them into these affairs?
It is all of the above. And the interesting thing is affairs by powerful men are really not so different from affairs that are not by powerful men or women. We just hear more about them, and they get caught in more flagrant positions,
so to speak.
So to speak.
And it does go back ages. I mean, really, if you think about it, Eisenhower and his female driver had an affair. John Kennedy and Judith Exner, Tiger Woods, Bill Clinton, and now, allegedly, General Petraeus and General Allen, and this never-ending rumor-mongering fulfilling the tabloid need. Are we blowing this out of proportion? Is it something that we should just accept as part of our sexuality?
Well, I think the big question is, the answer to that is, in my view, absolutely, yes, we are blowing this out of proportion. And the big question is an affair somebody's personal business, or is it public fodder for fuel for the media? And we seem to be in a world where this lives and breathes for this affair, the next affair, and as you've listed a whole bunch, and we'll wait breathlessly and supposedly in shock for the next one when it's been going on forever. We just haven't had media to publicize it. In fact, there are many psychologists and anthropologists who believe that we are not built to be monogamous, men or women.
Really?
And absolutely. And it goes way back to the Stone Age, and monogamy is a choice. And it's a moral choice that we in America tend to believe in. But the truth is, if you read the statistics, more and more people are having affairs. So women and men. So that we live in a society that is both prurient and prudish. And we pretend to be one way, but really the average individual, I can't say everybody, I don't want to give you the exact statistics, but more women are catching up in the amount of affairs that they're having, as well as men. So powerful men just happen to be in the spotlight. We also put them there. We also put them there as if they don't have clay feet. We also put them there as if they are different than we are. And you know what? They really aren't.
Wow. Dr. Dorree, great insight. I want to talk specifically about the General Petraeus alleged affair with his biographer. I've heard you on a number of other talk shows, and we talked about this over the weekend as we discussed you coming on. One of the things that I found a bit sexist was the fact that people pointed to the physical appearance, the dowdy appearance of General Petraeus' wife, and I said to you, at some point in time, because I think they've been married 20, 25 years, perhaps even longer, there was an attraction between the two of them, and it really shouldn't be a factor in whether or not General Petraeus or anyone of his stature had an affair, whether their regular partner has a particular appearance. Because if you look at the Tiger Woods affairs, he had a stunningly beautiful Scandinavian model for a wife, yet decided to have other dalliances outside his marriage. So what is the norm here, if there is one, and is there any blame to be put on the appearance of a spouse or partner to drive you to one of these affairs?
Well, as you know, I got livid at that remark.
Yes.
Because, of course not. And we don't know if there still isn't a sexual attraction between Petraeus and his wife. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And
well, we do with webcams, but we don't want to bring that up.
Well, this is still a family show.
Yes, it is.
but you know, what's his name? I was just trying to remember the French ambassador who lost his position.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. That apparently had. We're not talking about the financial. Head.
Yeah, right. You know, I would not call him the handsomest man in the world, but he had money, power, position, and he certainly got whatever he wanted with any woman that he chose, or many women. I don't think it's a question of looks. I thought that was a horrible statement. And what beauty really is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not sure everybody would think General Petraeus is such a good-looking man.
I've heard some people say that. Dr. Dorree, I did not expect this, but we actually have a caller who wants to ask you a very serious question about this. We'll go to John. John, you're on the air with Dr. Dorree Lynn on the John Fredericks Show. Go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. The two things that I would like to bring up, although I am not in a position to dispute, and it makes sense that sexually we are wired to not be monogamous, I think you can't overlook the point that in terms of monogamy, there are certain situations where, because of senior-subordinate relationships or the potential for blackmail, whether it's industrial blackmail or, in this case, national secrets, I think that raises it above the issue of just what our natural urges are. And I'll give you my second point, and I'll take the question or the response off the air. The second is regarding the appearance of the person with whom you have the affair. I don't recall any reported incidences of people having affairs with ugly people.
Well, right? you never know. Because beauty, John, is in the eye of the beholder, of course. And Dr. Dorree addressed that, because we all are attracted to different types, different blends of couples, as we know.
I'd like to address the first question because it's really the more important one. Mm-hmm. But I do, in my book, Sex for Grown-Ups, I do happen to have a statistic about fat people who are very sexual, and we tend to think fat people are not. And there's even a statistic where somebody who weighed 375 pounds gave birth to a baby, and her husband was similarly proportioned. So there are what is considered beautiful and what is considered ugly is off the record as far as I'm concerned. The question of state secrets is a whole different question. Yeah. And pillow talk has existed forever. Spies have been used for pillow talk, and that's where the seriousness comes in, of course. So far, my understanding, as in the news as of this morning, there is no reason to believe that state secrets were compromised. This is being investigated, and if they have not been, then what business is it really of any of ours?
That's true. And as I said in the introduction, talking about House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Rogers of Michigan, he noted that both Petraeus and Paula Broadwell, have said they did not share any security secrets, and investigators say to this point they found no security breach. But it does bring up a point, and I know we're not talking about security issues here, but I'm sure you'll see the validity in this, that for the head of the Central Intelligence Agency to use methodology more common to terrorists, and that is saving messages into a draft folder, I would bet you $100 and a dinner out that they have caught so many people doing the same thing to gather intelligence at the CIA. It just surprises the heck out of me that the head of the CIA, an intelligent man for all intents and purposes, General Petraeus, would have used that device more common to terrorists to communicate with Miss Broadwell.
Well, given that it's a family show, let's just say sometimes when it comes to sex, I'm not sure where the brain is located.
Yes. The upper brain and the lower brain has played a big role in many a bad decision, I'm sure.
And many people get caught because they really are stupid about this. And that I couldn't agree with you more. Where is somebody thinking? You have to question that. But people are... My point is, without being moralistic one way or another, people are human, and their humanity makes them have flaws. We in America are as responsible for putting our political or other rock stars as if they are infallible as the media is, and then we are on a feeding frenzy when something happens. If nothing has been breached, and so far as we know, nothing has been breached, then this is really a personal matter between the people involved and their families.
Now, this affair has essentially ruined his career. He was a 4-star general. He was the head of the CIA. He had a brilliant not only military career, but intelligence career, and probably along the way, not that I'm a huge fan of his to begin with, but after the stripping down of the budget for the intelligence community by the Clinton administration at one point, it was going to take at least a decade or more to rebuild our intel community to the point where they could gather and analyze the way they had during the Cold War at their peak. So this could have been very disastrous for the intelligence community, but it's turned out to, really just ruin one man's career and perhaps 2 or 3 more along the way. It's a horrendous decision to have made without thinking through what the consequences would have been.
I couldn't agree with you more, Steve. And from that point of view, you would wish that someone who has this kind of responsibility, who has, in fact, America has invested time, money, effort, respect, responsibility. One would wish that he would have had more common sense. I really want to put it, basic common sense. You don't, there's an old saying, you don't play around where you work, period.
Exactly, yeah.
And you don't keep records, and you don't do things to get caught. You just don't do these things.
But Dr. Dorree, isn't that kind of lying to yourself along the way if you don't keep records like that?
But do we want people? Yes, but do we want people to be as we wish them to be, or do we accept them as they are?
Wow. Some brilliant points brought up this morning. We haven't really resolved anything other than the fact that a huge mistake was made. It's salacious. We feed on those types of tabloid-esque stories. Is there anything that you would give as really a very noted psychologist and author in this area? Is there anything that you would give in terms of advice to those listeners who perhaps down in Newport News or at the Navy Yard or up in Washington on WTNT listening near the Pentagon, any of the military bases or government offices, to those people who are tempted or in the middle of something like this?
Yes. I would say that you are in positions of responsibility. You are in positions of leadership. And if you are tempted or in the middle of something that might cause difficulty, remember your position and possibly even seek help. The military, people tend to want companionship, male or female, and they tend to draw it from the people around them. And sometimes it goes into the bedroom. And think twice. And if you really want to think about the consequences of what you're doing, talk to somebody. Get help.
As you would with anything from PTSD to a true medical condition, correct?
Exactly.
We've been speaking to psychologist and author and someone who I am very proud to call a friend, Dr. Dorree Lynn, an expert you've seen, of course, on Retirement Living TV and heard on NPR and other shows around the country. Her website, there are two of them, 50andfurthermore.com, and of course DrDorreeLynn.com, and that's DORREE, DrDorreeLynn.com, the place to go. She's also on Facebook, and she's been with us live from Florida. Dr. Dorree, I can't thank you enough for the insight on this very delicate but important matter.
Steve, as always, it's a pleasure being with you, and it's a very important subject.
It is indeed. Thanks so much. Have a great Thanksgiving, Dr. Dorree, and I will talk to you very soon.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.